Frame okay? I'm recording my dream video today. It's 25th March, 24 today, and almost 2 weeks since the maths result came out. And I'm so grateful that I matched. And not just matched, I matched to my dream university program for internal medicine residency. Took me almost 2 years of immense hard work, dedication, and persistence to reach here. And I thought in this video I would just sit down and break every aspect of my journey, give you a very clear, unfiltered, non-glorified picture of what all goes into this process, and all the disappointments, the wins, the ups and the downs, so you have a very clear picture of everything that happened over the last 2 years. Before I start this video, I want to clarify that this is my story, my journey, and in no way this is a perfect story or the journey. I made a lot of mistakes, and this is just one of those 1,000 ways that worked, and it should not act as a template for anyone else, but just maybe learn and avoid the mistakes that I made. And also I think this video will probably give you a more clear picture, so that you can have, you can set your expectations more realistically. So let's jump right into the video. The story begins back in 2018. I just entered into my third professional year in MBBS, and I got to learn from my family that one of the distant family friends got a chance to visit Johns Hopkins University for research. And I was always interested to explore medicine and life outside of the country, and I talked to her and I took her guidance for the entire process of how to apply to Johns Hopkins. And we have this 4-week vacation at the end of our third year after the professional examinations. So I thought I would want to make the best use of this duration, this vacation, and go to US, to Johns Hopkins if given a chance. So fortunately I got into it, and I would be honest, my primary motive or motivation was to explore life and medicine outside of the country. Research was secondary. I was not like I was very interested in research or something like that. So this was just my first glimpse or the first gateway to life and medicine in US. I got there, I really loved it, loved every aspect of it. But on the other hand, I got so overwhelmed, going there, being amongst the the leaders of the medicine. There were so many scholars out there. My professor was head of the department, and I was working with PhD students. I was just a third year medical student, and sort of it felt like that this all was beyond my capabilities. This is something that I will never be able to achieve. USMLE is a distant dream. It's not in me to clear that exam. So I come back, final year happens, internship happens, COVID happens, life happens, and I drop my USMLE plans basically. My internship ended on April 21, and I remember that I took NEET PG by the end of that year, and I had not touched books for years when I took that exam, and no points for guessing that I scored horribly in that exam. But during all that time, it was not like I was doing nothing. I was exploring other things in life. I was exploring the business side of medicine. I also got a chance to open my own company and run my own food brand, right? So I was getting a lot of diverse experiences. This exam, NEET PG, was sort of a deadline for me that, okay, when this exam happens, this is when I stop my exploring phase and then decide what I really wanted to do in life. So I sat down and then I decided what I really wanted to do, and it all was brought down. I ruled out everything, and then two options were left for me: NEET PG or USMLE. I really wanted to do USMLE, but I had two major doubts in that. One was that I'm too late now. I've completed my internship. I have, it's been several months since I've completed my internship, for that matter, and also I've not done any clinical electives as a student, right? And second was that this exam is really, really difficult and beyond my capabilities, and really long journey as well, long unpredictable journey, right? So these were the two major deterrents for me. I still remember I was coming back to my home from Delhi, and I was driving, and I called one of my colleagues who was preparing for USMLE, And I talked to him and I asked him what's happening and what are other people from my batch who are preparing for USMLE and what stage are they, right? I got to know that most of them were preparing for step 1. A couple of them were done with step 1, right? So, he assured me and that it is possible, right? And I still remember that call very vividly. And when I reached back home, I had almost made up my mind that okay, it is achievable at least. I'm not very late. The only thing left now was to make myself believe that okay, this goal can be achieved. I can clear USMLE. So yeah, took me a couple of days. I did my research, rebrushed my entire knowledge of the process, what all goes in the process, what are the steps, and also got to understand the step 1, what is the syllabus, how do I study for it, and everything. So by the end of 21, or I would say very early on in 22, January or February 22, I was very much into the preparation phase. I bought my UWorld, I bought my first aid, and I started preparing for it, my step 1 examination. It was very hard initially because I was starting from scratch. It had been years that I touched my textbooks, and not that I had a very strong baseline concepts anymore. So I started preparing for it. I remember I took my exam on August 31st, 2022, right? So fortunately, I got my results in 14 days, 14th September for it to be exact. I got my result and it was a pass. So that was assuring, comforting, and I was confident, somewhat confident that okay, it is achievable. I can do it. It was an 8-hour exam and I managed to pass it, right? So it was my first major win in this process, and I was really, really happy that day. Okay, I cleared step 1. That was it. Then I had decided that I would start preparing for my step 2 as soon as I get my step 1 result, but didn't really happen. It took a couple of weeks more figuring out how to study for this exam, because unlike step 1, there was no proper resource for step 2, right? So I had to make my own notes from UWorld and Anki Deck. I made my own notes and I was very much in the preparation. I think by October 2022, I have discussed all about my resources and my journey in my step 2 video, right? I'll put it somewhere here if possible. So that was it. And I took 6 months for my step 2 exam. Meanwhile, I was also exploring observerships and hands-on clinical experience in the US. I reached out to my seniors. I was exploring programs on their website about their observership. I applied to other different universities for their observership program, right? And I took my step 2 exam on 13th of April 2023, and it was very hard, honestly, because I knew that it's just not about pass fail anymore. I had to get a decent score, and I had only one chance to do it. I couldn't retake the exam. Whatever score came out to be, it had to stick with me for the rest. For the rest of my life, essentially, right? So, and that's what everyone told me: get a good score, and basically you're almost guaranteed a seat, or guaranteed a position in residency program in the US. So not really entirely true. I would talk about it later on in this video. But yeah, that was the thing. I wanted to score high. So I prepared really, really hard for it. April 13th, I took my exam and I had my result on April 26th. And that was another major win for me. My confidence was all-time high. I had cracked step 1. I got a 93rd percentile, 267 in step 2. So I was beaming with confidence, and I got my result. I had planned my rotations. I got 4 rotations planned all in advance, month on month. And May 1st, I flew to US. I already had the visa because I had gone to US during my Hopkins days in 2018. So I did not have any problems, issues with visa. Thankfully so, because people who did not have visas had real difficulties with it because of COVID backlog, right? So that was a big plus point to me because I had the visa already. So I go to US on 1st May. I fly to Texas for my first rotation. So when I flew to US for my first rotation, I had no idea of what is expected out of me as an observer or as a student, right? So there was a uh, expectation mismatch. I had no idea what to do, how to be a good student, or what all is expected out of me. Secondly, just because I had just given my exam, I was sort of in a vacation mode. I was very excited. Okay, the hardest part is done. My scores are good. My exams are done, and now it's all gonna be a cakewalk. I'll just go to US, work in hospitals, get letters like that. Okay, so that was my expectations. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be chill. Uh, and I think I got a little complacent. I got overconfident. Just two back-to-back consecutive wins, right? So for the first week, it took me time to adjust. I was, I had to take care of my food, my logistics, my travel to the hospital. I did not have a car. There was not much of a public transport in Texas as well. So the feedback I received after 1 week from the attending was not very great. It wasn't essentially negative, but I was really struggling, honestly, because I had no idea of what to do, and there were some significant differences in terms of communication and professionalism between India and US. So that was a bummer, and it sort of grounded me down. After 1 week, I got grounded, and I knew that I had to be more hardworking and try to absorb everything that is happening around me, and get to know everything and perform well, because I had to get a letter. So that is when I realized, okay, it's not gonna be a cakewalk. The rotations are not supposed to be a vacation. You gotta work really, really hard, and probably go overboard with attending's expectations, be on time, and other different things that I mentioned in one of my previous videos. I'll put it again here if you wanna watch that as well. So yeah, so that one month rotation, first rotation, really grounded me, grilled me, but overall it was a very good learning experience. I got to absorb the culture, and I got to learn the expectations of the attendings, and what to do and how to secure good letters. So that sort of set my stage. That helped me perform really well on my further upcoming rotations. So 2 months I was in Texas, and in the second month I also registered for my OET examination. If someone doesn't know what that is, so you have to take one English exam before you can apply for ECFMD certificate and submit your application. So I registered for that. I studied for it. It was an easy exam. I studied for 3 days to approximately 2 hours a day. It's not difficult. So just solve their sample papers on their website, and watch 2 videos on YouTube for speaking. What do they expect out of you? And yeah, I got my result. I passed in that, and then I subsequently applied for the ECFMD certificate. I got it in 15 days. So by the end of June, I had my ECFMD certificate, and that is when I went on to my other rotation. I went to Cleveland. Worked really hard there. I made a video on my experience in Cleveland, and July I was in Cleveland. September I went to Orlando, Florida for another rotation. It was a great city. I loved Florida. I got to visit Disneyland, Universal, right? So it was a fun month, honestly. So next month I went to Tampa, and that was September. And September 27th is the deadline to submit your application and apply to programs. So that was a really happening month and really, really hectic month. I had to work on my personal statement, my curriculum era CV, curriculum vitae, and just to research about what programs to apply to. For personal statement, it took me a lot of time. I had no idea what to write first, and then it took me 16 or 17 corrections to finally submit my personal statement. 25 to 30 people read it, gave in their corrections and the suggestions for that, and I took real time to write my personal statement. For the CV, I took a lot of time in that, because I had to make sure that everything is perfect. And yeah, so that is it. I completed my personal statement, my ERA CV, and then I researched about the programs. I got a couple of lists from other people, but I wasn't very satisfied. So I made my own list using tools like Frida, Residency Explorer, and I also shared that list in one of my videos of USCE Masterclass if you want to see that. So got around 200 to 50 programs, and I applied to 251 or 252 programs in total. So 27th September, I submit, I apply to programs, I decide my signals, and which, by the way, were not perfect choice. I'll talk about later in the video about that as well. So yeah, I submit my application on 27th September, and I'm full of confidence because literally I was doing everything that was sold to me as a template by everybody, that have good scores, have good experiences in UIs, have good letters, and I had everything. Literally, I had everything. Um, so yeah, 2 days after I submit my application, I got first interview, and literally, again, my confidence was here. It was here that okay, I got the first invite in just 2 days, and I was expecting that I'm gonna get a lot of invites because again, I was following the template, right? So yeah, and I was so full of confidence that I signaled only the big university programs, and in fact, I was so confident, so foolishly confident, that I was thinking of signaling programs like Johns Hopkins, which had like 1 or 2% IMG rate. I think less than 2% IMG rate percentage. So yeah, that was a big mistake in my part. I did not signal Hopkins, but the programs that I signaled were all big university names, and yeah, I should have not done that. And probably anyone who is applying it for just future cycles, treat your signals very carefully. Do not be foolish. No matter if you're Einstein, doesn't matter if you're Einstein and you're an IMG, signal properly. It should be a good mixture of the university programs, the affiliated programs, and the community programs. Basically, places where you would want to go at, and which have a nice IMG percentage in their program, basically. So yeah, I had my first invite, and I knew that okay, the interviews are gonna be virtual this year. So I was not very comfortable with cameras and the video interviews in general. So that is when I started my YouTube channel. That was the primary motivators behind it, because I wanted to get comfortable with the camera, with the idea of sitting there talking with a smile and sound confident, not very hesitant during my interviews. So yeah, I started preparing for interviews. I took professional help because I didn't want to risk anything. I knew once you get an interview, you will be judged based on what you say in the interviews and how confidently you show yourself. So I took professional help, professional interview classes to prepare myself, because I thought I was a little weak at in this domain. So that happened, and while that was happening, I got another invite from one of the programs I rotated at, and it was going okay. By the end of September, I had 2 invites, and I was hoping for more. So October goes in, I had 0 invites. Okay, and there are places. There are some Excel sheets in which people update from where they got their invites and what programs are sending out their invites. Right? October, I had 0 invites. I was reading people were getting invites, and November, I had again 0. No invites in November, no invites in October, just 2 invites. And November is like, it was when like people start, they start considering that okay, the interview season is almost coming to an end. That was the lowest point in my entire journey, and probably my life, because I had worked extremely hard. I had comparative profile. Despite that, I had 2 invites, and it was very hard in a way that I had no idea or no clue what to do. I talked to my seniors, I talked to my mentors. They were shocked that what's happening this year, and they wondered if I had any red flags in the application. Over time, they saw my application. They didn't find anything. I thought I made some grammatical mistakes in my CV probably, but no, I didn't. So I checked everything, my application, everything. It was nothing wrong. Nothing was wrong. No, not even a full stop mistake was there. So yeah, and then I talked to people around, and I got to know that I was not the only one. This season was extremely competitive. I made a video for it as well. I'll put it again somewhere here of what was happening. So I talked to my colleagues. People were 260s, 270s, 250s, 240s. It was very varied. A lot of people were not getting invites despite a competitive profile. Others were getting it. So I wouldn't say that all high scorers were, or all competitive profiles were not getting interviews. some people were getting it, but others were not. And I still don't know the exact reason for that. Probably, I mean, I still have the same conclusion. I do not know. And yeah, so that was a very tough time. Probably my confidence again, it was in the basement. So I talked to my senior. December also, I think December I got one invite. By the mid of December, I got one invite. So I was standing on 3 interviews, and none of the programs were honestly were which I was expecting to go at. They were, I mean, in my expectations, I was thinking that I would want to go into a really good program, not necessarily a university program, but at least a good, reputed internal medicine program, right? And the saddest part was that I got rejections from most of my signals. Most of my signals had already sent me rejections. So I reach out to my seniors, all my college alumni again, asking for recommendations and everything, like everybody does. So nothing really worked, honestly. Nothing really worked. And finally, in January, very early on in January, I finally got one invite from one of my signals, and the only invite from my signals. So that was the day I was ecstatic. I was so happy that day that okay, finally I got one opportunity to at least interview in one of my signals, in one of my dream programs. So that was there. And also, meanwhile, I talked to my seniors and my mentors, and they suggested that you come to US and take your step 3, and probably also visit some of the programs in person if they're allowing in person visits. So yeah, January first week, I decided that okay, I should start studying for step 3. I had planned that I would take it during my rotations and take it before I submit my application. But because my rotations were very hectic, I was working really, really hard, and my sole goal was to make connections, get good letters or recommendations, right? And so yeah, I was not able to study for step 3 at all, and I did not take it. So yeah, January, it was time to re-strategize and make the best use of whatever I had. I got 2 more invites in January, thankfully, and yeah, even I got one from a really good program as well. So 3 of the programs were of my liking, and the other 3 were small community programs. So overall, I had 6 invites. I do all my interviews, and I come to US. I fly to US on 26th of January 2024 this year, and I go meet people in the programs that were allowing in-person visits. I talk to the program coordinators, and they helped organize the visits. So that was good. It was, I mean, it doesn't really affect a program's rank order list. They specifically mentioned that, but in my own, for my own peace, I had to make sure that I did everything in my power to do whatever I could, because statistically speaking, uh, uh, from the NRMP data, the chances of matching with 6 invites is close to between 60 to 70%, right? And so, I mean, it was a, I mean, it was a difficult thing, because despite doing everything right, my chances of matching was still 60 to 70%. And I talked to a friend, and she was like, Ujjwal, why do you think you did something special? Everybody does the same thing, I mean, the scores might shift, I mean, the scores might have some differences, but more or less everybody does the same thing, right? And there's so many applications, so many recommendations. A lot of time, luck really plays a significant role here, and that really made sense to me, honestly, and really grounded me, really pulled down my expectations. So, and these are real facts, honestly. I mean, nobody owes us anything. So yeah, I mean, I go to US for struggle once again. I go from city to city, visit 2 to 3 programs that were allowing in-person visits, and more than that, I was studying for my step 3, and I stayed there for 4 weeks. I took my step 3 February this year, and yeah, came back. March 11th was the T day when we got our results. It's extremely anxious. To be honest, I had around 60 to 70% chances of matching statistically, but I had a good expectation that I'm gonna match. But the question was where? I had one big university program, my dream program, one of my signals, where I really wanted to match, right? So 15th March was the program disclosure day, or you get to know where you matched, and this is the clip from that day. It's 15th of March today, and it's 9:15 p.m. I'm gonna get my result in next 15 minutes. I'm pretty anxious right now. I really hope I matched my first choice. I didn't have a lot of options, honestly, and I'm very grateful that I matched, but still just keeping my fingers crossed. Okay, just 5 more minutes ago. Minutes. Okay, the mail is here. The mail is here. Oklahoma! Oklahoma! Yes! 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 I managed to my first choice. Hello? हाँ जी First choice. Oklahoma. आ जाओ हाँ आ जाओ So that is the entire story. I matched to my dream residency program, University of Oklahoma, and it is one of really good programs. I got to know it about it through one of my seniors. Uh, so it was also one of my signals, and yeah, I was ecstatic. And I was really happy. I am really happy. It was unbelievable, honestly. I think a lot of it had to do with my hard work, but I still believe I got lucky, and luck played a big role uh, in this. And yeah, I am really happy, and I am really excited for what's coming next to me. I will be getting my offer letter soon. So yeah, that is the entire story. I tried to cover everything that I could. If you want to know any more specifics, please do let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to know what places I rotated at, I have put them all in my LinkedIn profile. I mean, again, I'm not endorsing anything, but just if people are curious, they want to know. So I don't think there is any point in hiding where I went for rotations. So you can have a look if you want to, but use your own brain. Use the list that I have put out in the USCE masterclass video. Search out for better programs, and I'm sure you will be able to fetch some good observerships and clinical rotations. And I have a lot of videos lined up. I have a couple of vlogs that I recorded from my visit to US, and I will also be making step 3 video, CCS cases videos. And if you want any particular video you want me to make, please do let me know in the comment section below, and I shall see you in the next one.